the dark, cold desert, when it seems there's no hope, our way can be found when we see the spark. Light breaks through darkness, fears disappear, anxiety is driven away, caution is thrown into the wind. There is life, there is hope, there is a way. He is our light.
Let me add a Merry Christmas, you've made it, right? It's one day before the day, and just by nature of the fact that you're actually awake this morning, you're not exhausted yet. So thank you for being here. Let me invite you next week, and I know next week's New Year's Eve, and I know a lot of churches are like dialing everything back, and I'm thinking it's the last day of 23 before we get to and turn a chapter into 24. I want to encourage you to be here because we're going to do a specific challenge strategically to help give all of us a practical way to make 24 maybe eye-opening, maybe just really good for you. So join us next week, same times as normal, 8:08, 9:30, and 11. And then I want to, Caleb had mentioned just as we kick off today, I know that there's just this franticness of this season, right? And I want to give you the gift of just the permission to just unwind, take your foot off the pedal, not rev the engine, to just relax and not worry about all the things that you have left. Not going to ask you if any of you still have gifts left. I know there are some of us that are in that spot. But here's the deal. You're not going to be able to do anything with that in the next minutes anyway. You can always just do what every family in America does, print a picture of what's coming in the mail soon, right? And so just be easy. And here's one of the reasons why I want you to do that. Yesterday, every December 23rd, Carmen and I celebrate our anniversary, and yesterday was 40. It's like the big one, right? Yes, you can applaud for her. I agree, right? But we decided early in our marriage that we weren't going to make anniversary this humongous thing because it's in the season, right? And there's so much. So probably 30 of the 40 years on our anniversary, we will go out, grab dinner. Doesn't even have to be the nicest place. We'll go out, grab dinner, then watch a movie afterwards. And so yesterday, just because this year is a little bit different, and so we drove to Columbia. We went to eat, not at a great place. We ran a bunch of errands, and I've had this hacking cough, so we kind of made the call, we can't go to a movie. But what we did do is what we tend to do is as we unwind, we just asked this question, hey, what if God would give us 40 more? And I'd be an old man, but what do we want to get rid of, and what do we not want to get rid of? And what it does is just this gift to just think and ponder and take advantage of a good moment. So I want to encourage you to do that today. As we finish up this series, we've talked about light in the dark corners. And look, let me give you permission as well to acknowledge that you have dark corners in your life. So do I. So do the people that are sitting around you that look so beautiful this morning. We all have these dark corners. And I want to encourage you to be willing to let God shine light in the dark corners in your life. We have built a statement that will finish this morning that has been this growing sentence. And it goes like this, that light explodes from the life of Jesus. The way that he lived, what he gives us. When Jesus enters my life, light just emanates. Light explodes from the life of Jesus, piercing the darkness. Not, Jesus can never change that. He can, yeah. It's piercing the darkness, overpowering it. And then today what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up with, for what purpose? And we're just going to, there's lots of reasons why Jesus would enter into the dark corners of the world and the dark corners of your and my heart, and that he would enter in and explode out of that, overcoming the darkness. Light shines through. There's multiple reasons why he would do that, and we're going to look at one of those today. And to do that, we're going to go back to 12 verses from Matthew's telling of the Christmas story. And I'm going to read it for you. I'll make a couple just quick comments as we go through, and then I'm going to ask some investigative questions. Just the who, what, why, when kind of stuff that you naturally do anyway. I'm going to ask that, and we'll make some points of why would this be included in Scripture? By the way, Matthew's the only gospel writer that tells this story. Why is it in here? What can we learn from it? And what might God have for me today and for you today? Here's how it goes. Matthew chapter 2. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who's been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." Which, by the way, you don't really go to a foreign king and say, "Where's the new king born?" Verse 3. And when Herod the king heard it, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. By the way, that doesn't mean every single human being that lived in Jerusalem. It's really talking, because not every single human being heard this, but all the people that were gathered around Herod, they heard it, and they were bothered by it. And gathering together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, that's the Jews, the leaders who would probably know a little bit more about this, he began to inquire of them where the Christ was to be born. And they said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea," which, by the way, Herod would immediately know where Bethlehem was because it's 5 miles, that's it, 5 miles south of Jerusalem. "For so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah. For out of you shall come forth a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called the Magi, and he ascertained from them the time the star appeared. We'll get to why he's wanting to know. "And he sent them to Bethlehem, and he said, 'Hey, go and make careful search for the child, and when you've found him, report to me that I too may come and worship him.'" Spoiler alert, you all know this. He's lying. That's not why he wants to come. "And having heard the king, they went their way, and lo, the star which they had seen in the east went on before them until it came and stood over where the child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy." Pause. It doesn't say, not that this isn't true, but it doesn't say, "and when they saw the child, they rejoiced." I know they did. We know that for what we're about to read. But it says when they saw the star, which gives you a little bit of an indication. Maybe they didn't see the star every moment of their journey. That maybe it shone and then it disappeared. I'm just speculating because it says when they saw the star, they rejoiced. Yes, there it is. There it is. Verse 11, "They came into the house and saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshiped him, and opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned by God in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their own country by another way." So I want to ask, and again, you naturally do this. You do this when you watch TV shows. You do this when you read a novel. You watch these why. You ask these questions of why, what, where, when, who. That. And so I want to just do that. And the things that intrigue me, the things that I just ponder about in this incredible story of the Magi. So one is this: who are they? Who are the Magi? We call them what? Wise men. We say that there's 3. We have no idea. That we know it's plural, but it's probably not 2, and it might be 3. The reason why we say 3 is because there were 3 gifts that were given. Let's just say it this way: it's not just a small group of a couple dudes on camels. We don't even know if they were camels, how they got there. It's an entourage. It's probably a large group of people that are making this journey. Their Magi is basically a word. They're scholars. They're learned people who particularly know about astrology. Again, they're scientists. They're educational elite. Here's what I find very interesting is that they're very unlike the people that Jesus gathered around him as his apostles, who were very much blue-collar people. I mean, they're the fishermen, they're the shepherds, and it wasn't just their blue-collar. They were like the lower academic part of the blue-collar, as opposed to the wise men the Magi, who are the academic elites, the most learned, they had some money as well to them. Here's one of the things I think this tells us about why Matthew would include this story. The only one of the gospel writers that would include this story that it tells me is that followers of Jesus come from all layers of people. The up-and-comers, the down-and-outers, the prestigious, the broken, the wealthy, the poor. Followers of Jesus come from all layers of people. And one of the things I think that's important for you and I to remember is that if you have the tendency, as I sometimes have the tendency to think, well, you know, followers of Jesus are kind of like this. But they're not only like this. Followers of Jesus are this type of people. Those people who follow Jesus. No. Your people follow Jesus too. Your types of people. They come from all layers, all strata of people. So here's my second question. Where'd they come from? All we get from Scripture is they came from the East. Now, most biblical scholars and historians would say that's probably referring to the area of Persia, which was a booming area. It's about 800 to 900 miles east of Bethlehem. And Persia had a pocket of people who, again, were very, very learned. All right, we think, and when you think of Persia, we don't find a lot about Persia in Scripture. You find a lot about that area, particularly Babylon. Where did these people who came from the east, where did they learn about this star to follow it? And it's likely, particularly if it was Persia, that there was a man by the name of Daniel who lived in Persia, Babylon. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar. That's that area. Daniel had some prophecy that he wrote down about the coming Messiah and some things that would happen. So they possibly knew about that. Here's a question. So why did God plant this star in this area? We're going to look at a second about what this star is. Don't think, oh, it's just like all the other stars up there. They just kind of figured it out. There's something unique about this star. Why did God put it there? Was God just going, I'm just going to stick it somewhere, and I'll get some people that'll come, and they'll bring some gifts? If he's going to do that, why don't you stick it in Israel, where the people are more likely to really want to come and worship the King of the Jews? Here's what this tells me. He strategically puts it in Persia or the East, where there's not a ton of followers of Jesus. And Persia, by the way, was an enemy. Babylon was an enemy of Israel. Here's what it tells me. Followers of Jesus often arise from his enemies. For those of you that are parents and you're so concerned about your children who are wayward in their faith, be concerned about your children. Absolutely. But don't think for a second that God cannot rise up some of his most amazing leaders, even from people that have deemed themselves enemies of Jesus. Can I name one for you? Paul. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament books. He killed followers of Jesus. God rises up. We have people in our own, listen, I'm one of them who was an enemy of Jesus prior to following him. By the way, you're one of them too. But some of us have been very outward very outspoken, oppositional to Jesus. I want nothing to do with him. We've spoken to people about how much we don't want to follow Jesus. And all of a sudden, what do we find ourselves following Jesus? Why? Because he shines light in dark places and light overpowers darkness. What is it that they followed? The star. The word literally is, the Greek word is aster, which is where we get astrology. It's a heavenly being or a star. But you get this feeling as you read this, this isn't like ordinary stars. So for example, the star had led them to Jerusalem. Bethlehem is 5 miles south of Jerusalem. Stars don't travel like with the rotation of the earth, right? Stars travel west to east, but they're going east to west, and now they're following south. It's not a normal star. And also, it leads them to a direct place. Stars don't, like the stars that you look up in the sky don't lead, you can follow them, they're not going to lead you to a house. This had to be a low-hanging star, right? It's got to all to say, there's something unique about this. In the book of Revelation, that word aster is also translated, and it says, talking about the stars that fell from heaven, and those are what? It's talking about demons, like angels that have fallen. So was it an angel that they were following? Well, I don't know. All I know is this: it was something unique and different. It was, I'll just use the word, supernatural. It wasn't just this, well, when this star lined up with that star. No, God did something unique that guided them to a specific location. The supernatural happened. And it better happen, because the supernatural, here's what we learn from this, is needed to get us to Jesus. God didn't need to just, his miracles and guiding people to Jesus didn't end when the star disappeared. Because God had to have some supernatural things happen in my heart to break through a hard shell to get me to open my eyes and ponder who Jesus was and is he worth following. And that's true for you as well. You got to have the supernatural to happen. And you tend to think, I could never. You're right, you couldn't. I could never do all the things that you asked me to do. You're right, you couldn't. The situation that my loved one is in, they'll never end up following Jesus on their own. You're right, they won't. That's why the supernatural happens. And God breaks through whatever you might be walking through as well. All right, so when? It's actually the same question that Herod asked. When did the star appear? And we don't know what their answer was, right? He asked them, hey, when did the star appear? And we don't have their answer that's written in here. So let me give you a couple just perspectives on that. How long had they been following the star? So if they came from Persia, that area 800 to 900 miles away, and they're riding in a caravan, a large number of people, they're not going 40 miles a day. Let's go 15 to 20 miles in a day. That's 60 to 80, right? It's like 40 to 60 days, a couple months, one way to get there. There's quite a bit of historians and biblical scholars that think, they've been going longer than that. And here's why they think that. Because the end part of this story is that Herod had asked them, how long you been following the star? They told him something, and then probably because of what they told him, Herod later on goes and he kills all of the male children in Bethlehem that were of 2 years and younger. So he probably tacked on a little bit just to be safe. But if they said, we've only been following the star for a couple of weeks, what? The star appears, as the thinking goes, when the baby was born. And so they start following. That's why Herod asked them the question. So it's possible that we've been following the star for a month. We've been following the star for a year and a half. So I think the important part for us in this, they did this for a very, very small action that takes me 7 seconds to read in Scripture. Let's say they traveled 16 months so that they could do something that takes me, it was probably a 15-minute event, but I can read it in 7 seconds. And they came into the house and saw the child with his mother Mary, and they fell down and worshiped him, and opening their treasures, they presented him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. That is a lot of hassle to go through for something that takes 7 seconds to read. Here's what I can learn about following Jesus from this. Following Jesus wasn't designed to be convenient. It's noteworthy that the Jewish scribes and the leaders in Jerusalem that was 5 miles away didn't so much as ask the Magi, hey, can we go along with you? Why? It's too inconvenient. Following Jesus wasn't designed to be convenient. Listen, let me look. Following Jesus, there's some very, very easy things in following Jesus. It just doesn't take a lot. But there's some other things that are very, very difficult. And it will cost. It costs time. It takes effort. It asks you to suck up your pride and do some things you don't want to do. Following Jesus was not designed to be convenient. Here's my big question. This is my last W question. Why? Why do they do this? I just read why they did this. They did it to worship. They did it to worship, which is really the end of our statement. Right? Light explodes from the life of Jesus, piercing the darkness, overpowering it, and leading us to worship. So when for those of us in the American church in particular, when we hear the word worship, we equate that to music. And I get it, and we'll do some more music. But here, let me pull for you 4 verses out of the New Testament that describes people as they worship Jesus. All right? Matthew 14:33, Jesus walked on the water, and it shocked the disciples who were in a boat. And then Jesus, as he's walking on the water, he gets into the boat. It says this, and those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, you are truly God's son. I'm fairly certain they didn't sing him a song. Nothing against music, but this is non-musical. John 9:38, Jesus heals a man who had been born blind. For the first time, the man sees. And he's stunned. And Jesus has this conversation with him about what real belief looks like. And he said, I believe, Lord, and he worshiped him. What did that look like? We don't know. Did he sing him a song? I doubt it. Again, nothing wrong with singing. We have 150 chapters out of the book of Psalms that are lyrics to songs, many of which are just deep, passionate worship songs. Music is an amazing gift for us, but this is not music. Matthew 28, verse 9, Jesus is resurrected from the dead. 2 of the women come to the tomb, and they meet a man who says, he's not here. He's risen just like he said he did. So Matthew 28, verse 9, behold, Jesus met them. They leave the tomb, and he said, rejoice. And they came up and took hold of his feet and worshiped him. What did it look like? I don't know. A couple of verses later, Matthew 28, verse 17, the disciples go back to Galilee as they were supposed to. They're not in Jerusalem anymore where Jesus is risen from the dead. They go back north up to Galilee. And it says this, and when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some were doubtful. The point is that like part of worship for you has to be more than singing. By all means, use music as a gift to worship, but worship has to do with sacrifice and humility and acknowledging to Jesus who he is. So I want to give us 2 moments of worship this morning. As you came in this morning, you saw this card on your seat. And it's just my gold, my frankincense, my myrrh. And you maybe anticipated what we're going to do, but I want to encourage you that worship team's going to come back out, and we're going to sing Silent Night. And I want to encourage you more than anything, just stay seated. What is it that God might be, that you could give as a gift? It might be something that's he's not even asking for. You want to go above and beyond. You know, that maybe, what is it you would give the God King? That's gold. What is it that he's not asking you for? You just want to give it to him because it's a sacrifice on your part, but you just so much want to give him to him. That's frankincense. What is it that you know is going to hurt you to give it? Might not hurt you as much as you think, but it hurts. It's pain. That's myrrh. I want to encourage you, just between you and the Lord. There's a pen. Those of you that are on the front rows, you can reach behind or get a pen from somebody behind you. I want to encourage you as we're singing Silent Night that you would just consider, what is my gold, my frankincense, my myrrh? Don't, listen, if there's nothing you want to give to the Lord,